All right, this is my second take on trying to get this video out correctly. This is a follow-up of my past couple videos in regards to the difference between the light of God and the love of God. One individual sees God initially as light, and another sees God as love. And of course, God is love, but God is light too if you perceive God that way. That's just a lower, carnal, physical way of seeing God, not the true essence of God. Everything on this planet Earth, and I mean Scripture, Bhagavad Gita, everything is written based upon the light, the knowledge, the wisdom, not the love of God. And so it's incorrect. So if you see reality through a set of glasses that distort everything, that's not like you're not seeing something. You're definitely seeing it, but it's distorted. It isn't seeing it for what it truly is. The entire Bible, everything, the Bhagavad Gita, every cotton picking Veda, everything written. Now, that doesn't mean the original people that is written about, meaning Jesus, meaning Buddha, meaning Krishna, meaning whatever. These, Lao Tzu, for instance, none of these people may or may not have perceived God correctly. We don't know because everything written is perceived as light and not love. It's seen through the distorted glasses of knowledge and wisdom. So when Jesus was quoted as saying the most important commandment, and there again, I know it's not a commandment. I know God didn't say the most important commandment is that you love God with all your heart, might, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. That's not a commandment. Because God doesn't command. God has no laws or rules. God doesn't give laws or rules. Can you understand? If you understood correctly, this video is the most important teaching that has ever existed in all history, because there's nothing else that has ever taught. And I'm teaching it now because you're not going to read it in Scripture. You're not going to read it anywhere. If you want to perceive reality correctly, if you want to perceive God correctly, when Jesus said it's the most important commandment, he didn't say that. That's just what the authors wrote. Let me requote it the way I know Jesus would have said it had he been asked. He would have said, no, there is no commandment from God. But if you want to perceive God correctly, then might I suggest that you love God with all your heart, might, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. If you do that, and if you incorporate that, if that is in fact a byproduct of your essence. So in other words, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you if you have the byproduct of love, and if everything is colored, so to say, with love from yourself, then when you read the Scriptures or read the Bhagavad Gitas or Vedas or anything else, then you will perceive correctly or more correctly what the truth really is, rather than having it distorted by knowledge and wisdom. I know that sounds crazy, knowledge and wisdom, but that's in a sense what it is. The light is looking for power, authority. Do you really honestly think the Creator, God, Brahman, the God that Jesus prayed to in the Garden of Gethsemane, do you really honestly think that this particular God would have to lower himself or herself or itself to the point where it is giving commandments? Of course not. That's insane to think of such a silly or stupid thing. Of course not. This God doesn't have to command anything. Because if it did, it would have to be followed. Because this is the God, this is the Creator. So there is no commandments from God. There's only suggestions, and those suggestions come through other individuals, not from God himself. It has to come through other individuals. And those other individuals, like myself, is telling you the most important thing that you can learn in your entire life, in your existence, in this kalpa of time. The most important thing you can learn is that perceive reality coming from a basis of love. That's it in a nutshell. You don't have to love God with all your heart, might, mind, and strength. You don't have to love your neighbor as yourself. You don't have to love yourself. These are like commandments. It isn't a commandment. Loving God is not a commandment. You don't have to love God. It's just that if you want to know God, you can't know God without loving God. God is love. It's like saying God is love, so let's convert love to fire. I want to be one with the fire. Well, then you have to be fire. You can't put water on fire and expect it to be one with fire. It's never going to happen. So to perceive fire, you have to be fire. You have to be one with fire. To perceive God correctly, you have to be the essence of love. Everything about you has to be love. God has no power, no authority, no rules, no laws. But the entire universe maintains its universe based upon the love of God. It doesn't comply with laws and rules. It complies with love. Because a law or a rule, people behind their back cheat, steal. They do this, they do that. When they know they're not being watched, they go off and do something else. But that never happens when an individual loves another person. Never happens. They may say it happens, but that's a lie. Because someone that loves someone else has the utmost respect. You don't have to have a law that you have to respect someone if you love them. So the most important thing is to love. And since God is love, the next consequential thing would be to say, love God. But people don't want to hear that. What they want to hear is what's written in the scriptures. But how is that any different? It's like if you got a guru with PhDs hanging on the wall with a robe on. As you can tell, I have no robe. You want to go to Sangha? If you want the epitome, the absolute epitome of what you personally think is the most important individual, we could take all the teachings of Krishna, Buddha, Adi Shankara, we could take Lao Tzu, we could take Jesus, we could take everything and program that into a computer. And then we could take all the teachings of the living gurus that you assume to be enlightened, for instance, and ask them thousands of questions and then put those answers into the computer. And then the computer will always be right because it has everything at its fingertips. because it's a computer, supercomputer. And then toss a robe over it and pretend it has a beard and a pair of sunglasses or whatever it is you perceive as what you think is the ultimate guru that's going to teach you and help you become enlightened. And you can sit in Sangha with your legs crossed and sit there and say, oh, great computer, what do I need to do to blah, blah, blah? And of course, the computer would speak and you would bow down and you might as well pray to it, because it is the epitome of PhDs. It has a PhD in everything. It knows everything. And then somebody like me would go into Sangha and everybody would go, who are you? Get the hell out of here. Because I would ask the computer, I would go, well, okay, great computer. I've never tasted a lemon. Can you convey the taste of a lemon to me? I would suspect the computer will start smoking and noises would come through the speakers. And then everybody in Sangha would say, get out of here, we don't like your kind. 2,000 years ago, they just simply took Jesus and hung him on a cross. We don't want to hear what you teach because what you teach is the truth. You people don't want to become enlightened because you listen to gurus with PhDs, or you listen to people that spout off their great knowledge of the Veda teachings and scriptures and the Holy Bible and all this kind of stuff. That's organized. They have fancy robes on and they have hats and all that. This is what you want. You don't want to learn about enlightenment. You don't want to learn about God. You don't want to learn about Brahman. You don't want to learn about these things because you don't listen to someone like myself. You listen to people that you're impressed with. I have no letters after my name, so I'm of no consequence. And if I was in a Sangha group, you'd kick me out. And if I went to a Christian church, they'd kick me out. Because I teach the truth. If you wanted to become enlightened, you're not going to get it from all the scriptures. It can't be had. If I were to teach you about Adi Shankara, I would say he was a spoiled brat. I would say he had an intelligent mind and he was a narcissistic, sociopathic assbite that taught about non-duality as a reflection of what the true reality is. And I'd tell you he's an idiot. But you don't want to hear that. You want to go along with all the other people, all the other sheep, and believe that Adi Shankara was a great, wonderful wisdom guy. You don't want to hear from me, somebody like me that talks about Buddha as being a person without any integrity. That in fact he wanted to become so intelligent and wise and enlightened that he abandoned the responsibility of being a husband, a parent. He betrayed his family to become more enlightened, more knowledgeable. And in fact, he did become enlightened. But so what? That's just more knowledge. Who gives a damn? Do you want to become a computer? Is that what you want? Do you want to become a computer? Well, that's what Buddha was. He became a wonderful computer, and he could spout off all kinds of wisdom. I believe at the end of his life, when he was approximately 80 years old, he started to learn about the love of God, in fact. And that's when he, I would say, wrote, but obviously he didn't pen it, but the Lotus Sutra. But he hid it so well that nobody could understand, unless you're already enlightened. So, circling back, if you want to know what the truth of stuff is, you have to be the essence of love. It's not a commandment. It's just, what do you want? If you want to become a computer, you don't need love. Read the books, listen to the gurus at Sangha, study the Vedas. You might become a computer someday if that's what you want. You'll never be able to taste a lemon. You'll never become enlightened to the love of God. You can become enlightened. Oh, indeed. There are plenty of enlightened computers, meaning computer people, meaning people that study and have Shakti and realize what this reality is. But big deal. So what? So what that you understand what this reality is? So what that you experience what this reality is? You're experiencing the toy that God created for what it is. Wow, big deal. You still don't know the creator. You only know what the damn toy is. You have no clue who created the toy. When I say you, I'm talking about those that are actually enlightened. Which I doubt there's more than 10 people on this planet Earth at this time that are enlightened. And I expect 8 or 9 of them are not enlightened to the love of God. So when Jesus said to love God with all your heart, mind, and strength, it wasn't a commandment. It's not the greatest commandment. It isn't a commandment. It's just answering that if you want to know what the truth of God is, if you want to be enlightened toward God, it can't happen. You can't mix something in with fire, and if it's not fire, it's not going to be one with fire. You have to become the fire. So if you want to know God, you have to be pure love. They teach all the time in Vedic and all kinds of stuff about how, oh wow, I want to end the cycle of samsara. I want pure joy and bliss. That's what everybody wants. I'm quoting gurus and stuff. Everybody wants to end this life of sorrow and misery, and they want bliss and joy and everything. Isn't that like a selfish, narcissistic ass in essence? Or is it more like a kindergarten individual that hasn't progressed far enough yet? Because if you say, I'm searching for absolute bliss and joy, then that's you see? You haven't surrendered you. It's what you want. But if you love God, you don't want anything. You don't even want the will of God. All you want is nothing. You love. And if the consequence of that is, well, you're going to have to go around the wheel of samsara for 25 million kalpas of time for all eternity. If you have the love of God in your heart and soul, you don't care. It's joyous. It's fun. Because you love God. And you know that you have trust that God has your best interest at heart. But this non-duality garbage, it's false. It's not true. Everything they teach about non-duality is incorrect. They talk about Advaita Vedanta. Advaita is misunderstood by the entire freaking planet. It always has been misunderstood. I know that the original concept of Advaita is correct, but nobody understands it correctly. That doesn't mean non-duality. You could say the fire is one, but that's not true, because fire is made up of an infinite number of atoms, electrons, the chemical reaction that takes place to create fire. So there's no such thing as fire in essence. All there is individuals that make up what you know as fire. You see it as fire. It's like the idiotic thing that says, well, you're just a drop, and the drop is thinking that it's an individual when in fact it's the ocean. And they teach non-duality. Well, see, you're a drop, and the ocean is one, and the ocean is an ocean, and a drop thinks it's an individual. They have it backwards. There's no such thing as a freaking ocean. An ocean cannot exist without an infinite number of drops. And a drop can't exist without an infinite number of electrons and molecules. And then you get down to the Planck length, which Max Planck was an idiot who decided this is the smallest thing that can exist. Of course not. Of course not. Physical reality doesn't exist, therefore Max Planck was wrong. You can't measure something that doesn't exist. I'm way over your heads. I know I am. Way over your heads. Nobody understands what I'm talking about. I don't even know why I make these damn videos. What is the point when nobody understands? I would help anyone in this world become enlightened if they truly warranted it. But nobody truly warrants it. You have to be the total essence of love. If you were, then you wouldn't be offended by what I'm saying. But if you're offended, then you're not total pure love, because I am total pure love, like God. But that offends most people, because they want the power and authority. They want the plaques hanging on the walls that says, I've earned a PhD degree, that da-da-da-da-da. But don't you see somebody like me that is trying to teach you the truth, doesn't want you to be distracted with PhDs? I don't want you to be distracted by wearing a robe or a hat or a cone hat. I don't want you to be disturbed that I have authored books or this or that, or I'm very powerful. Who gives a damn about that stuff? Do you want the truth, or do you want to become a computer? What do you want? If you want a computer, great. There's plenty of people that will teach you how to become a computer. And then you can go to the great computer in the sky and be one with the computer. And then when the kalpa of time is over, you can revert back to nothingness. While God, Brahman, continues on to the next kalpa of time. And then you can start your process over again. You talk about samsara, about being born again in this life, and time after time you're born again. First you were a rat, and then a duck, and then a pig, and now you're a horse and a cow, and now you're a human being. You think that's the wheel of samsara? Oh my God. What do you think is going to happen when that process goes all the way through? You're a human being, the kalpa time is over, and you start the process all over again in another kalpa that Brahman creates, because you never became one with God. And then you start all over again as a rat and a donkey and a pig, and after 10 million lifetimes, you're back to being a human being again, and you screw up because you don't understand the concept of God is actual pure love, and so you think you're focused on what God is because you look at the God as perceive it as light and knowledge and wisdom, and that's what you worship. And of course you're wrong. And then you go back and start the process over again. But that's why there's so few people that have ever become enlightened about God, because they don't perceive God focused with eyeglasses of love, And of course, when I say eyeglasses of love, I mean that's the essence of what's inside of you. Anyways, I'm done with this video. I have no clue what to talk about on my next video. I don't even know how to cap this one. But if you're interested, let me know. Otherwise, I may not make videos anymore. I may go back to my woodworking and metalworking and all that kind of stuff. When I say go back to, of course, I'm going to continue to do it. I even have a Harley Davidson motorcycle. I think I'm going to go ride that today. Anyways, if you're still watching, thank you for watching. I hope this could be useful to someone out there. Anyone. I hope it could be. That'd be awesome. Anyways, you guys have a good day. Thanks for watching. Bye.